Good day everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be discussing WandaVision episode 3 which came out last night. Before doing that though, I would like to take a moment to thank everyone who watched the previous video, who liked and commented and subbed and all of that. Thank you very much and I hope you guys continue to support me. With that being said, one last thing. At the end of this video, please hit the like button, hit the sub button, hit the notification bell, and feel free to follow the social medias linked in the description. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or you could message me on the social media and ask me, or feel free to leave recommendations also. Now let's get into the video. Okay, so to begin with, the episode starts off where the last one left off, which is everything went from black and white back to color. Now I believe we're in the 1970s time period for this episode. As we can see, the opening credits for this episode was based off the Brady Bunch. So there's that, and there were a few little things in that opening credit scene that we'll discuss at the end. So pay attention to those hexagons that they had scattered all throughout the opening credit. So the episode starts off with Wanda and Vision seeing that they're pregnant, and Vision goes to get a doctor, and the doctor gives his checkup and gives them the okay, saying yes, she is indeed pregnant. And surprisingly, the baby is pretty far along for only a few hours. Then that part of the scene ends with Vision walking the doctor outside, and in doing so he meets Herb. Herb was busy cutting the grass and he started to cut the fence, so we'll talk about that also at the end, because that could be hinting at something going on. So after that, we see Vision goes back inside and he mentions it to Wanda, and she does what she did in episode 2 where he starts to regain some form of his memories, but it seems like she alters reality like she did when she saw the guy coming out of the sewer in episode 2, where she didn't want it and she changed it. So she changed or rewound time, so Vision gave a different answer. After that, we skipped a mini ad in the episode itself that promoted Hydra Soak, so we can mention that later on as well. Skipping forward now, we see that Wanda is more pregnant. Her and Vision are doing things to prepare for the coming of the baby. This includes a montage of them reading books, practicing Wanda's breathing, also changing diapers, painting the room, that kind of stuff. So after all that takes place, Monica shows up. Well, before Monica shows up, actually, Wanda's water breaks and there's a downfall of rain within the house, and Vision runs off to get the doctor that just left, and then Monica arrives because she wanted a bucket borrowed. So yeah, in doing so, basically it led to she's finding out that Wanda is pregnant there, and while they're having a discussion, a stork appears, and no matter how hard Wanda tried to get rid of the stork, there was a red smoke, but the stork would not go away. So we need to pay attention to that too. So yes, now after all of that, Monica finally sees that the baby is coming, so she helps with delivering the baby. After delivering the baby, the doctor arrives in time to help deliver the second baby, because the first baby was delivered, and Vision and Wanda named the baby Billy and Tommy, and those of course would be Wiccan and Speed from the comics, those of you who know. So that's one thing there. And after all of that, Vision then walks the doctor out again. In doing so, there's a little conversation between them where the doctor mentions that small towns are very hard to escape. So again, pay attention to these things so we can discuss it after. So yeah, in doing so, he meets Agnes outside and she's having a conversation with Herb. We see that Vision walks over to them and he asks them if they lost power as well, and Agnes makes a statement that Ralph, her husband, who we haven't seen yet, that her husband Ralph looks better in the dark. So again, more foreshadowing for later on. Then they have a conversation. In doing so, Herb goes to say something, but Vision not Vision, he goes to say something to Vision, and Agnes stops him from saying it, so we don't know what exactly he was going to say. But during this conversation, we notice or we get a clearer image of the pendant that Agnes has around her neck. In the last episode, it was a brooch. So it changes every episode, but the image on it remains the same. So we'll discuss that as well. Then we cut back to inside of the home, and we see Monica and Wanda taking care of the twins. And Wanda mentions that she had a twin brother, Pietro, and in doing so, it kind of triggers Monica to have some form of memory from outside, because it seems that when you enter this area where they are, you lose your memory. So she remembers Pietro, and she says that Ultron killed him. So this is a big callback to Age of Ultron so many years ago. Then we see Vision coming inside. When he does come inside, Monica is gone, and he asks Wanda why, but basically Wanda tells him she had to leave and go home. And then we see the camera pans out, and the aspect ratio goes from the 4:3, I believe, and it extends out to the normal format, which is 16:9, and we get to see Monica being thrown out of the force field area, reality warp zone thing, and we see the agents surround her. So yeah, we see that, and that is where the episode ends essentially. So now we can go ahead and discuss the things that happened in the episode and the little Easter eggs. So first of all, the hexagons that we see at the beginning in the opening credits, those hexagons could be a sign that AIM from the comics are in fact playing some role in this, be it trying to get Wanda or influencing her in some sort of way. So because AIM has a hexagon shaped symbol on their logo, I'll throw a picture up so you could see. Okay, another thing we noticed during the episode now is Herb. During his conversation with Vision initially, Herb was seen cutting into the fence. So this could mean that Herb in some form was trying to enter, or it could be a metaphor then for someone trying to enter into Wanda and Vision's safe space, this being that reality that they created. So, and there's also the fact that later on in the episode, Agnes stops Herb from saying something to Vision. So these two could be connected in some way, but we'll have to wait for later on to see how exactly it plays out. Next, there's the fact that the Hydra Soak ad. The Hydra Soak ad is a homage to Wanda's time with Hydra, because if you look at the first two episodes, there was one with an homage to Tony Stark and Stark Industries with the toaster, and then one to the scientists who experimented on Wanda and Pietro when they were younger, that being Von Strucker with the timepiece. So Hydra Soak ad would just be this ad would just be an homage to Hydra and her remembering them then. The next big thing in the episode would be the Stork. Now the Stork appears and it basically hovers over the conversation with Wanda and Monica, and Wanda tried to get rid of the Stork a few times and red smoke appears. To me, this is a kind of a symbol that it may be Mephisto. Those of you from the comics, who read the comics at least, will know who I'm speaking about. I don't want to say too much on it, but this could be a hint to Mephisto due to that. Also, the twins are born. So now that the twins are born, if they follow the comic book route, my theory is that if it does follow the comic book route, then it would be connected to Mephisto. And lastly, the one thing that we finally got to see was the amulet or the necklace that Agnes has on. Now, this necklace, we finally get a good clear image of it, and the pendant has three people in it. There's a Grim Reaper sort of looking thing in the middle with a scythe, and then there's the two little kids or persons next to it. So it could be one of two things. The fact that we heard Agnes mention her husband many times and haven't seen him, and also in this episode she mentions he looks better in the dark, along with the stalk. I believe all this can be pointing to either Mephisto or Nightmare. If not, well, I have no idea what it would be pointing to, but my theory is that it follows the comic, and the two kids that were born are indeed parts of Mephisto's soul, and he's trying to get them back. So yeah, that is my take on it, at least. If not that, then the symbol could be representing Mephisto himself and Agnes, and the other one would be them trying to recruit Wanda in some way. So yeah. And lastly, the last thing, when now we see that at the end of the episode, Monica is thrown out of the force field reality altering bubble that Wanda made, and we finally get to see that the new agency, we don't know if it's SHIELD converted to SWORD or if SWORD is set up separately now in the MCU. So as far as we know, this is SWORD. They should be their own program like SHIELD, and we saw that Monica is indeed part of SWORD, aside because one, she had on the necklace with the SWORD symbol, and she also, when she came out of that force field after Wanda threw her out, we saw all the agents rushing to her. So in my opinion, this was a good episode. There were a lot of Easter eggs scattered throughout the episode pointing towards things like Mephisto and Tommy and Billy being Wiccan and Speed, as you know. So yeah, I do hope that you all enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it like I hope, please consider again subscribing, leaving a like, and if you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. Feel free to message me on the social media, as I said, if you have questions or recommendations. And again, thank you everyone for the support, and see you guys in the next video. Thank you again. Bye.